Conditional selling, a word in the mortgage and insurance industry that is a huge issue when it comes to the FCA, when it comes to compliance. It's something we are not allowed to do. Now, I want to make this applicable to anybody in any industry who is listening. So I'm going to talk you through conditional selling and my views, particularly in financial services for mortgage, insurance, and IFA advisors, how you can perhaps think about life insurance, critical illness, income protection sales completely differently. Now, to give you some context, if you're a personal trainer and your goal is to help someone get healthier, happier, fitter, stronger, build muscle, lose weight, then realistically, there's two key parts that go into that. Well, actually, there's a whole plethora of stuff that goes into that. But what you've got to think is, first of all, there's training and exercise and steps and movement and energy. And then on the other side of the coin, you've got nutrition and what you're going to eat, the calories that you're going to be eating, the right macronutrients that you need to be having. Now, we can bolt on loads of other stuff. We can add on sleep. We can add on the right supplementation, the right vitamins and minerals and all of that jazz. But if you came to me now and I was your personal trainer, I would get you focusing on movement and exercise and nutrition. Now, as a personal trainer, I'm going to turn around to you and say, well, okay, I can give you a training plan, but if your food's crap, you can't out-train a bad diet. On the other side of the coin, I can give you a nutrition plan. And if your training's crap or you're not improving, you're not going through hypertrophy, you're not working out, you're not getting the right number of steps in each and every single day, then the two aren't going to work. You're realistically not going to achieve your goals. Now, I've spent thousands on understanding fitness. I do have a coach in the fitness sense, and I get somebody who can write me training plans and who can write me nutrition plans. Now, if my personal trainer who writes those for me decides to turn around and say, Gary, if you're not going to take my nutrition plan, I'm not willing to work with you, because I'm about getting results. I'm about making sure that you achieve your goals, whether it's 5K in under 20 minutes, whether it's losing a stone, whether it's putting on 2 pounds of muscle in the next 12 months. The personal trainer is invested in getting you the best possible outcome. And being invested in getting you the best possible outcome is being invested in the advice that they give you that helps you to achieve that. So if the personal trainer only gives me the nutrition or the training and doesn't combine them, or if I come to him saying, I need a training plan, please, because I'm getting a bit bored with my workouts, or I go to him and say, look, I want to lose some weight, I need a diet plan. His job is to upsell me. And he can make it a condition that if I'm going to work with him, in order to achieve the outcome and the goal, that he can choose without any recompense realistically to say goodbye. Now, hopefully that's given you some context, and hopefully in any business and any industry, you need to be thinking like this, because the way in which you increase your sales, you increase your turnover, you increase your profit is to make sure that you're selling more to the same people. You increase your sale value. That's a vital, vital step. It's the easiest out of the 4 metrics that you can leverage. Increase your leads, increase your conversion ratio, increase the sale value, or increase the number of transactions or the lifetime customer value that a client has with you. The third one is the easiest, increasing that sale value. When you go to Amazon, they upsell you on different products and services. When you go to McDonald's and ask for a Big Mac meal, they turn around and say, would you like to go large? They're trying to sell at all points and all opportunities. Now, let's flip this into the financial services industry, into the mortgage industry. Now we have some context for everybody. And the thing you've got to remember is it's against the FCA guidelines to force your client to get a mortgage. Now, in the Mortgage Pro community that I have on Facebook, there's 2,500+ advisors in there. I've been building it since June of 2018. It's an absolutely superb, fabulous community where really the main goal is yes, help and inspiration, but it's about which lender do I need for this circumstance? And it's a hugely powerful resource. But someone asked about a client who declined taking the protection from them when they were giving them mortgage advice. And 160 comments later, with so many different viewpoints, I realized that this is a topic that needs to come to the podcast to help and inspire you. And I thought I would give you my 2 penneth worth on what you need to do in your business to maximize your sale value and ensure that you're giving the best advice. Now, let's focus on conditional selling first of all. What is conditional selling? Well, conditional selling is turning around to your client and saying, unless you do the mortgage with me, I am not willing to do the protection. Now, as a mortgage advisor, it's your responsibility to give the best advice, but the client cannot be forced into taking the protection through you. And that's why in my brokerage, we have a protection disclaimer. It says that we've had the conversation. It says that they are taking on the risk, and that protects us as a business when the clients don't sign it. It's great for your PI insurance, your professional indemnity, and really it's great to protect yourself, because if a client gets to a point where they suffer cancer, heart attack, die, critical illness, anything along those lines, what's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to look at the advice that they recently had and see if a decent recommendation was made. Now, here's the key thing. We cannot conditionally sell. And I think there's 2 parts to this that is really, really important. If you're unable to turn around to your client and say, unless you do the protection with me, I will not do your mortgage, that is deemed conditional selling. However, my view on this is if you're doing your protection recommendations, your protection advice, and you're pitching upfront correctly, you can even avoid the point of conditional selling. Because what we can turn around and do is say to our clients, we cannot force our clients to take protection with us. It's against the rules. And I'm going to reinforce this 100 times because I need to make sure we're clear. But when they come to you for mortgage advice, the first thing you should be doing is saying to your client, now, I'm a mortgage and protection advisor. My job is to not only make sure that you can secure the home, but it's also to make sure that you're covered against the what ifs. What if you were to die? What if you were to have a critical illness? What if you couldn't work for an extensive period of time? What if you contracted COVID and had long COVID and couldn't work for God knows how long? Now, whatever it might well be, you have a duty of care to your client to raise that awareness right from the very outset. And if you turn around to your client and say, look, part of the process of working with me is that we will have a discussion about your protection circumstances, about the cover that you are going to need when taking out this mortgage. Is that okay? And if the client says no, I believe and I feel at that point in time, it is your choice, like the personal trainer, to turn around and say, okay, if you're not willing to have a discussion, that's the point. If you're not willing to have a discussion, then I'm not willing to do business with you, because that is the earliest stage at which you can do it. Now, I'm a firm believer that if you break the sales process down into initial fact finding, where we talk about the mortgage, you talk about their pains, problems, issues, and everything that needs to get covered with regard to the mortgage, and you seed plant a future that you're going to have this conversation. And if the client agrees to it, you then have a second conversation when you give the mortgage advice, where you then disturb and talk about the what ifs and the protection advice. And that is how you split the process out. And that is how you really protect yourself against all of this. Now, if, let's say, you had that second conversation, the client's all bought in, they absolutely understand everything that you're recommending, you've had a fantastic conversation with them, and you've made some advice, you've given the illustrations, and for example, they go on Go Compare, they go on a comparison website, whatever it might well be. Or for example, they go to another broker that chooses to sacrifice the arse out of all the commission, and they beat your premiums hands down, and they say that I'm really going to do the mortgage with you, but I just don't want to take the protection. I found it cheaper elsewhere. And at that point, if you turn around and say, well, on that basis, I'm not willing to proceed with your mortgage application, that is conditional selling. That is the point where you can be told off. That is the point where I believe that you are at risk, because all at that stage, no problem at all. I understand that. Let me try and requote you. Obviously, try and save the deal, try and save the conversation. But at that point in time, if they really don't want to do it, you proceed with the mortgage application. You continue to charge them the fee. You continue to do the solicitors. And at that stage, you just get them to sign the declaration to say, I've had the conversation, we've had a recommendation, and they're doing it through their own accord or whatever it might well be. And I think if you do it like that, and I think if you walk into every conversation right at the very outset, that first appointment, with the right mindset, that this client is going to take protection with me. Under no circumstances will I talk about a mortgage to a client on a first appointment without disturbing protection, without talking about protection, without making sure that the client understands that it's a priority for you as the advisor and that they need to prioritize it too. Your percentage conversion rates are going to go through the roof, because when you do it properly, you get a budget, you make good recommendations, you have good conversations, then there should be no reason at all why the client says no. My brokerage converts insane figures when it comes to mortgage and protection, and we do not conditionally sell. We have good conversations. We explain it's part of our process. We sell the benefits of us doing it all together and tying everything in. We maximize our sale value and the premium for the client. And the client, the most important thing, you're treating them fairly. An FCA guideline. You are looking after them. You're making sure that you are acting with due care and diligence, and you're giving the best advice to look after your client. So I think this is a really topical area. I'd love to know what you think. In the comments, comment in. What's your views on this? What do you think about conditional selling? Is it something that, has this video helped you? Has it inspired you? Has it given you some thought processes around how you are approaching your conversation with every single client? Because you should be going into the conversation with the mindset of, we're going to do protection for this person. We're going to make a recommendation for this person. But if at the very outset, the client says to you, look, all I'm looking for is a mortgage, I don't want to chat about protection, it's not something that I'm really interested in, then that is your choice at that point in time, not to have the conversation. That is your choice at that point in time to say, no problem, I don't want to complete a fact find. Most of my clients have a conversation with me and are willing to talk about it. If you're not willing to talk about it and you're not willing to deal with it, then you're not a client for me. And that's absolutely fine, I feel. And I hope that you do too. And I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. So wherever you're listening to this, wherever you are watching this, make sure that you comment in and give me your thoughts and feedback, because this is a really topical area that I think is one that, not only is going to transform your life and your business, increase your turnover, increase your profit margins, but it's one that really you need to get clear on yourself. You need to get comfortable being uncomfortable and having those really honest, open conversations where you disturb the client, where you put their mind into the future, and you make them realize that they are doing themselves, their family, their kids, their lifestyle a disservice. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope that has given you some thoughts and feelings for this fine day. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in. I look forward to connecting with you. If you want to share your thoughts and feelings or this episode, then make sure that you do it inside the Instagram stories and tag me in. Wherever you are watching, listening, or reading, then please do comment in. Let's keep the conversation going, because this is an area that is contentious. It's an area that can be misconstrued, much like in the Mortgage Pro community when this conversation started. The context, I think, was massively lost inside that group. I don't believe that anybody is conditionally selling. I just think it's about having the right conversations at the right time and being comfortable in yourself to say no at the very outset if someone isn't willing to have that conversation. Because if they're not willing to have a conversation, then they're putting you at risk, even if they sign a declaration. I'd rather not have a client like that. Thanks very much indeed. You have a fantastic day. You have a fantastic evening. You have a fantastic week, month, or year, wherever you are listening to this. Make sure that you go back and tune in to all the other episodes. There are close to 180 episodes for you to dive on in. We are approaching episode 200, and we're going through a massive rebrand on the show. And I'm going to be sharing with you why and what you can expect and how it's going to massively benefit you going forward. Thanks very much indeed. As always, remember, now's the time to become pro.